Hey folks, okay, we're back. As promised, I got this sign pretty much ready to. The one thing I didn't do on the last video is the customer asked me to drill holes, so I drilled a couple holes in there for him. But now it's ready to package, so I want to package it on camera so you guys can see how I go about packaging my signs. Now what I've got here is I've got some bubble wrap, and this is stuff that's fairly inexpensive these days. We just buy ours boxes full at Sam's, and they're 12 inches wide and they're perforated every 12 inches, so they just pull apart every 12 inches so you can make it pieces as big as you need. So what I've done here is this is 30 inches by 30 inches, so I'm just going to wrap it up. I've cut off a piece that's 6 foot long, so all I'm going to do really is just lay it down, and I'm going to completely encase this thing in bubble wrap. So I'm going to overlap it there. And the neat thing about this bubble wrap is my packing tape does a real great job at sticking to it. It sticks real well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to now use a couple other pieces that I've got over here. And I'm going to, basically this one's a little funky because it's an octagon shape, and I'm going to wrap it 3 different ways. But in essence, depending on what size your sign is, the main thing is get it completely wrapped, in foil, not in foil, in bubble wrap, so that you've got it completely protected all the way around. And what normally is the biggest issue with these signs, yeah, that's about where I want that, is the corners. That's where if it's going to break, it's most likely going to be on the corners. Now on this one, fortunately, I've got really dull corners. This isn't rectangle. If I had a corner out here, that's where I would really want to protect it more than anything else, is on those corners. But that's not, I don't have that issue on this one. Actually, I'm going to need another piece. I only cut 3 pieces and I need 4. So bear with me, folks. This one's kind of... So my philosophy, and actually I got this from my dad, is when packaging something, I'd much rather err on the over packaging than under packaging. Last thing I want to do is have this thing destroyed in shipment. Even though I will be insuring it, I still don't want to have to make it over. Don't want the hassle of all that. So, you got another piece there for me, Dad? Thank you. So now, and when I do this, guys, I'm doing it bubble side, because on this bubble wrap, there's a smooth side and there's a bubble side. I like the bubble side facing the sign, facing the wood. That's the way I like it. Now, if this thing had a full finish on it, this is unfinished, so I don't mind the bubbles actually making contact with the wood. That doesn't bother me. If it did have a full finish on it, then I would wrap this thing in plastic, in those plastic tubes. I would wrap it in that before I let the bubbles actually touch the board. And the reason for that is sometimes the finish, when you get done with it, the finish isn't really hard, and after a while in shipment, sometimes these bubbles will make a mark on the finish if the finish isn't super hard yet. And many times when we ship our signs, they're not completely dry. They're dry to the touch, but the finish isn't completely dry. So there we have it. I've completely wrapped that thing in bubble wrap. So now we're going to move on to the next step, and I'm going to show you how I protect it even better than this. Okay, so here's the next piece. We have here 1/8 inch hardboard. Now this is what we guys, and most of you know, we make layout patterns, layout templates, and this is the same material we use for that. 4x8 sheets, like $8, so it's really inexpensive. I don't like shipping a big sign out like this unless I really have it protected. So this is, the bubble wrap is my first process. Now I'm going to encase it in a piece of hardboard on the front and the back. So I'm going to set this aside. But what I want to do, and so you guys know, I cut those hardboard pieces, again, my sign is 30 by 30. I cut those hardboard pieces at 31 inches square so that I have a little bit of an overlap. Now what I'm going to do is, I want my edges protected, so I am going to take an extra piece of packing, of the bubble wrap, and put on the sides that need to be protected there. So I've got 4 of these cut, and these are just 2-foot pieces here that I've overlapped. Hopefully I can. Again, I'd much rather overpack. And this is something that I try to take into account too, guys, when I'm quoting a sign like this, knowing if I have to ship it. If it's for delivery or people are going to pick it up, then that's a whole different deal. But if I know I have to ship it, I kind of take the time involved. It's not so much materials, but the time involved in packing it and making sure that I've got, that I put an hour or 2 in there for packing, because this is a process. Okay, so there's that. Now what I'm going to do, stand that up, take my piece of hardboard, and I'm going to center this right in there. So I should have a little bit of a gap. Actually, now with the foam board, or the bubble wrap on the sides, it just about equals the size of my hardboard pieces. So I got a piece of hardboard on the back and a piece of hardboard on the front. Now I'm going to tape those in place. Wow, I got an itch in my nose. So I'm going to kind of squeeze that a little bit on all 4 corners. Still with me, Dad?
Still with you, son.
All right. Notice how I'm kind of collapsing the corners a little bit. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. I want this thing completely locked into place. Now throw some around here and I'll tighten that up. I'll squeeze those sides. Tighten that in place so that thing is locked in place and it's not going to float on me in there. So now that this is done, what I'm going to do is we'll move on to the next segment, which is actually putting this in a box or encasing it in cardboard or corrugated, but I have a special box in mind. So move on to the next one. Okay, we're back. So you saw what we did as far as encasing the sign in that hardboard. Now what I've got here is just a cardboard box that we had laying around, and a place that if you can't find if you don't have big boxes laying around, you might try a packaging supply, and they sell corrugated, double-sided corrugated in sheets, so you can do that. You could even go get an old refrigerator box or something like that. But what I've got here basically is a piece of cardboard. It was a box that I kind of cut up to make work for my package. So let me grab my sign and I'll show you what I've done there. So what I've done is I've got a piece that wasn't quite wide enough this way to cover everything, so I'm making do with what I've got. What I've done here is I've scored these, and I don't know if you guys are used to that, but basically I took a razor knife and just came down and scored, and I'm going to do another piece here in a second so you'll see. So in essence, what I've done here is I've scored it at the bottom and the top, and it has kind of a fold over thing. So there's what that's going to be. Now I just need pieces on both sides. One I've already scored and got it set. So this is going to go on one side there. Now I'm just going to show you how I actually scored that. I know that this is 30 by 30, so I'm just going to use this little bit of a straight edge here and use my razor knife, and I'm going to score that that edge right there. So all I do is I'm just following kind of a straight edge there and scoring this thing down, not cutting all the way through, but just enough so that it'll bend, and then I'll just do the same thing there. Doesn't have to be exact, just anywhere close. So then that will bend over. So now I have my piece for there. And I've got my other piece. So I'll slide this around to this side. That's going to go around on that side. Hopefully I can line this up. Then this is going to fold over this way. And that's going to fold over that way. Then I'll just kind of slide everything together, make it all fit together. And there's my box. So I've still got to put paperwork and stuff in, but this guy kind of gives you guys an idea. I don't want to tape it up yet, but what I'll do from here is I'll just tape the heck out of it. And then I may even throw some strap tape around of it. But that is good enough to ship. I'll probably, you guys know we ship almost everything USPS priority mail. In this particular instance, we'll be shipping at UPS. It's much cheaper, much less expensive, and it's just easier to do. So I'll either take it to the UPS store, or we actually have a local company that has UPS service that will ship it for us. So I'll take it down to them, they'll weigh it, and I think my $30, what I charged, I think 30 or 35 for shipping, I think I'll be pretty close on that, because I definitely want to insure it for probably 400. So anyway, that kind of gives you an idea of how we ship the big signs, guys. Now I know this thing could travel across country with no problem with all the packaging that I've got in there, especially that hardboard. That's what really protects it. This is just a skin on the outside of the hardboard. Again, my philosophy is I'd rather overpack than underpack. So what am I forgetting, Dad? Is that about it?
That covers it, son.
So that should give you guys an idea how to ship bigger signs. I do want to do another video on how to ship the smaller signs again, because from our video way back when we did that, I've kind of adjusted a few things, and I'd like to show you a little bit more about how I ship the smaller signs. So that'll be another video. That'll be a separate video. Yeah, we'll do that here pretty soon. So thanks, guys. I'm going to go ahead and get this wrapped up. Thanks for watching. Go on and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And we got lots of great stuff coming up. So we'll see you soon. Thanks.